She made me do it. They all make me do it.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
All right, everybody. It's one fucking hour time. I am Evan Husney. Of course, this is the show where we talk about one goddamn movie for one fucking hour. And we got in the house with me, Mr. Tom Fitzgerald. Tom, what's going on, brah?
Tom's not here.
Oh, my.
Okay.
All right. Didn't win. That was last week, though. Whoa. That's right. And to my right, we got, as per usual here, Mr. Marcus Herring. What's going on, Marcus? How are you?
What is up, everybody? This is like a little white thing here. What is that?
I don't see it. Are you freaking out?
There it goes. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Microdosing again.
I know.
Episode. We talked about this.
Jesus Christ. Altered States was last week, man. What's going on? All right, guys. Okay, good. Tonight is, of course, episode 81 of the show, and that means you've been following along with us. We're doing a movie from 1981, which y'all voted on our Instagram page, and man, it was a fucking close race. It was like literally 3 votes decided tonight's movie. It was that close. And of course, we're talking about Brian De Palma's Blowout. Was the chosen film. Very close second, guys, was Escape from New York. And then under that, of course, I'm sorry, Tom, Quest for Fire didn't have a great showing. But we're going to force it on people at some point, right? Like, we're going to do that. Yeah, of course.
It's a lesser known entity, but we'll get it charged up. We'll do a quest.
It's going to be part of our top 10 caveman movies.
There you go.
I'd love to do that.
I got a few.
Dude,
yeah.
Fulci's Conquest is going to be high on that top 10 for me.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Caveman, Ringo Starr.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
A giant egg.
Oh my god! And what was the other? American Werewolf also fell a little short, but I'm sure some point we'll get to that one. I mean, we love that movie here, right? I mean,
Yeah, I'd love to.
yeah, that's a big juicy one that we can get deep on for sure. But we're talking about, this is our first De Palma film, first time he'll be on the channel, which is great. So we're doing one fucking hour on Blowout, guys. But before we do that, before we get into that shit, just want to do a quick shout out to the One Fucking Hour Patreon. Of course, patreon.com/one fucking hour is how you can sign up and support the show. It's just $5 a month. You get instant access to all of our bonus feature-length audio commentary tracks that we've been recording to a lot of choice flicks, man. We've done Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We've done fucking Blue Velvet. Has been super fun. We did Star Wars OG from 1977. And I guess we're unveiling the next audio commentary track tonight, which we're very excited about to get into. We love Alejandro Jodorowsky. We recently did El Topo on the YouTube channel right here about a handful of episodes ago. And so we're going to follow it up with a DVD commentary track on Holy Mountain, guys. Ooh. Holy shit. That's what we're going to be doing. Because we said, guys, when we did, shout out to our El Topo episode we did earlier on in the summer, we said, I don't think we can do Holy Mountain in a fucking hour. I think we need more time to cover that shit because it is that fucking insane. So I think the only way we can do it is in a DVD commentary track. So you might as well hang out with us and watch the goddamn movie with us. Isn't that right?
I know. Yeah, it's so dense. I mean, it's wide and it's deep. So it's like you don't get a break like to land, and you just like you go up into the atmosphere, up to the stratosphere, and you're just stuck there the whole time. And I actually was just rewatching the like the 8K or whatever this summer, and I was watching it and I kept freeze framing it because I was like, this is one of those movies where it's suitable for framing, just like, wait, full stop. What is the Aztec outfit that this frog is wearing? What exactly went into getting this little outfit on this frog, and the artistic consideration? And it's just a tiny little pebble in this insane mosaic, and it goes on and on. And then I was just thinking, like, this is not a film in any, I mean, of course it's not. We all know that. Like narratively, it's very different, but it's just so engaging that it's just like a 2-hour music video.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it sounds reductive, but like what I mean is it's just like, it's to be consumed in a way that is not in a normal film way. It's it's supposed to trigger your inner mind and third eye. It's like it's images and audio that is just like stimulating you in this way that feels both ancient and still like cutting edge. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, like to your point, every shot is like seeing a painting in a museum or something, or like a performance art. You know, it's almost like a journey through surreal performance art that was just captured on film in like a really masterful way. And everything has a really it feels very deep and meaningful, even if you can't quite parse what is happening.
And it's okay. You don't have to. Like he's not being particularly dogmatic. It's just like what is this doing? It's like a Jungian kind of collective unconscious thing. Like, what are your synapses doing when like you see a room full of Jesus Christs and then you eat one of the Jesus Christ faces and it's just really fun. And I propose we're gonna have to watch it twice in a row to really do it. Right.
Yeah,
sure.
The 4-hour commentary. No, just the 4-hour commentary.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's what it deserves, but we probably won't do that.
Plus,
yeah, it's great.
We can dive into the Beatles connection.
We will.
One of the most surreal, weirdest movies of all time is, of course, connected to the biggest pop group ever. So
that's crazy. So the only way you're going to be able to hear that is up on the Patreon, or you can scroll underneath the video, click the join button, and become a Momen of our YouTube channel, and you can get the access to the commentaries that way. And guys, we've been discussing tonight, and we'll unveil this soon. We have a whole other plan for more bonus content that we're going to do beyond just the regular 1 fucking hour show. We got a lot of other stuff we're going to be getting into, some members only live streams perhaps. We're going to get into a bunch of shit. So you're going to want to become a member or a Momen pretty quick in order to have access to all that shit. So patreon.com/1 fucking hour. Appreciate y'all who are already signed up. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Guys.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Are you guys ready to get into tonight's show? Should we just fucking rip right into it?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Here comes the clock. All right. Boom. And quick little synopsis action here on tonight's film. This synopsis is taken straight from the Criterion Blu-ray. So here we go. In the enthralling blowout, or as my Canadian friends refer to it, Blue-oot, brilliantly crafted. It says that on the Blu-ray. No. Brilliantly crafted by Brian De Palma, John Travolta gives one of his greatest performances as a film sound effects man who believes he has accidentally recorded a political assassination. To uncover the truth, he enlists the help of a possible eyewitness to the crime, of course, played by Nancy Allen, who was De Palma's wife at the time, who may be in danger herself. With its jolting stylistic flourishes, intricate plot, profoundly felt characterizations, and gritty evocation of early 1980s Philadelphia, Blue-oot is an American paranoia thriller unlike any other, as well as a devilish reflection on movie making. So that's the flick. Again, Tom, another one of these movies. I have to assume that, like, now that we're getting into the early 80s, that these are movies you are seeing regularly on first release, right?
Yeah, like if not the movie theater, like there's cable. I always mention that. But no, I saw this one in a theater, unsuspecting, still, very much a kid, like 11 or something like that. And one summer, I went to a matinee, and it starts, and I was absolutely blown away, like in a good way, because, I had seen Friday the 13th on the movie channel on cable and whatnot, and I was a fan. But this was like the most balls out, psychotic, lurid, naked girl slasher movie, nightmare heaven. You know what I mean? I mean, because the conceit is in the film Blowout, the opening scene is from this trashy slasher film.
It's like a parody.
That Travolta and them are making. So he just went for it. Yeah, it's a bit of a parody, and it's a bit of it's like everything's on 11, as they say in Spinal Tap, and it's so fun, and it's just like, and yeah, I guess there's like hardcore steadicam, and it never ends, and it's all the POV of this psychotic nerdy killer in a men's only jacket, and you see him in the mirror, which is actually
Members
really
only.
creepy.
Yeah. It's so creepy.
And he's great. I wanted to freeze frame that. Please
It's
cut to
amazing.
that. If whoever the guy in the booth who does that
Yeah.
stuff and cuts to the clip, have the members only jacket guy in the mirror. But anyway, yeah, it's amazing. What really got me was like, okay, it was like, oh, now that girl's masturbating in
Yeah.
the bed, and it's like I'd never seen anything like this before. And then like there's killings and there's screaming, and it was like so insane. So. But then what was really great is I was like, as a kid, I was like, all right, is this going to deflate and be like really disappointing? But it wasn't. I was enthralled by the film throughout. It didn't peak in the first 5 minutes. It still had my attention the whole time.
Yeah, it's such a that opening is so fucking well done. Just technically, obviously, as you mentioned, the Steadicam work, which was brand freaking new at that time. I mean, The Shining is just I guess 1 year earlier and or 2 years earlier maybe, and that kind of set the bar for Steadicam work. And this movie, it's great, but it's so funny that it's kind of being used for this kind of like parody of a slasher movie. And I also was thinking as I was watching it, like, man, it is kind of early and on the cutting edge to be satirizing a slasher like in 1981, because I mean, you said you had Friday the 13th, but maybe Halloween, of course, being a big one, which does have a similar sequence actually in it.
POV thing. Yeah.
A POV thing. But like, man, I think in 81, that's pretty fresh, right? To be like...
Well, not to get in the weeds, but there was a movie called Student Bodies that was pretty nuts. And there was everyone's favorite Saturday the 14th came out the same year. So,
True. Yeah.
Like Richard Benjamin. Yeah, but no, but to your point, it's like a real film that's not just kind of a trashy comedy is doing this kind of meta wink at this because at the slasher genre, because the slasher genre immediately jumped the shark. You know what I mean? It became this like trope, and like it became so predictable. Like it's a formula. Like, all right, POV and the topless girl, and then the knife, and and so he picked up on what kind of a lot of people were picking up on, that this genre immediately became like just you couldn't escape it, and then it just became
omnipresent,
passe, and collapsed. What's that?
Yeah, well, just everywhere. It was like ubiquitous, and then like he pushed it to 11, though, as you said, like. With the masturbating girl, the dancing girls, the sex scene, one thing after the next.
Yeah. I really want to watch a movie that delivers that many things. I wanted that movie to keep going because it just keeps delivering.
Is this a dumb thing to say? It's like Gaspar Noé or something like that?
Well, I was thinking the same thing. It was kind of like, because it is like Enter the Void has that POV thing that's going on.
Right.
And I think he stole that from like Lady on the Lake or something. But, no, it totally feels revolutionary. There's also that like first person movie, like Hardcore Henry or something, that was like a little blip in consciousness where it was a full on first person movie. Yeah, terrible. It's more like a video game or something.
One of my least favorite movies of all time.
The combination of POV and then that fresh Steadicam, it feels really. It still feels really fresh, and I guess the lighting and it's just a lot of magic happening.
Exactly.
In that,
all the rooms were set up so well as the camera traveled. And one last little thought: we're talking about like the magic of that early opening scene. Is it sounds really great. There's like. What is it, like heartbeats and like heavy breathing and like wind blowing, and it's all maximized. And the music, it's all maximized. It sounds great.
Definitely.
It's just like intoxicating.
To be fair, a movie that is about sound design like needs to have like really killer sound.
Yeah, they better get that right. That part,
and they do.
Or
really
wrong because it's because maybe he's not good at his job, and
right. Well, that's
in the narrative.
He seems to be one of the only kind of like skilled technicians on this film, right? Like he seems to be like he's good at everyone else is kind of schlocky.
Yeah, totally. Well, one thing too is that we mentioned with the Steadicam, just since we're there, because this is really the main showing of the Steadicam in this movie. Obviously, it shows up a little later on too, towards the end. But Garrett Brown was the dude that was who invented the Steadicam, and he's also operating that shot in the opening. The opening. Single shot take, and that was heavily choreographed and everything. It's pretty incredible.
Sorry, he did The Shining too?
Yes. So he had just had come off of The Shining, and he had mentioned that he was like all warmed up like he was, because Kubrick is known for how many takes he does, and so he was definitely ready to do it. But he was asked to do something that he didn't do in The Shining, which was to do a POV shot. And so with this, he really had to get like, very performative, because he's almost like acting it out. You see his hand that comes into frame and things like that. And so it's pretty amazing. But he had in his mind, like, he knew the shot from Halloween, that like that POV shot. He knew that he wanted to top it because, technology had evolved since Halloween and it was wobbly and things. And so he really wanted to get this right. But then the day he showed up on set, news broke to him that like, this is supposed to actually be a shitty movie. It's supposed to be a parody. And so he's like, oh my God. And so, he had to kind of figure out a good balance of being like technically proficient, but also not, making it seem like it is part of this kind of like B movie thing, which I love that friction.
That's so cool. Yeah.
And, just a personal little side note, like, fucking Steadicam, man, it is incredible. Like, I work on a TV show where, we do a lot of work with the Steadicam. Actually, any shots that we do in the studio for Dark Side of the Ring is all Steadicam. Every single shot is, and it's insane. I actually strapped myself into the rig, and it's insane what it does to your body. It's so much weight pulling on your core, and it's crazy to think that someone has to kind of balance something as heavy and as crazy as that while also being artful and getting the shot,
like
and
light as Fred Astaire.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And the nuts and bolts of it too. It's like those guys that are Steadicam operators, they have a huge investment, going in. They're like, I want to be a Steadicam guy, so I got to drop $100,000 on gear, and I'm gonna slowly pay that off over the next few years, on all these gigs and stuff.
And there's also like a limit to how long you can do it. I think there's a lot. I mean, any Steadicam operators listening can tell us in the comments how many years you got of that in you, because I think it's only like 10 or 12 before literally your back can't handle it anymore.
It's like a pro athlete kind of time, career
it
timeline.
It is.
You gotta retire. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is amazing. But Tom, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. We can talk about cinematography later. I was gonna make a leap there, but if Tom's got another subject.
I actually meant to say Marcus. I conflated both of you.
Good.
But Marcus, you also saw this movie when you were small as well, too, right?
I did, yeah. My dad showed me this movie. I think he always had a lot of enthusiasm for films that had the kind of like a twist ending or kind of like an ironic ending, which this definitely does. So he could kind of nudge me, elbow me, and be like, wasn't that great, So he showed this to me. But it's not appropriate for most children, I don't think.
No, God.
And it definitely kind of scarred me, and I didn't know who De Palma was, Travolta was, anything for years. When I went back to watch this, I was like, holy shit, John Travolta's in this movie? Because for me as a kid, it was just a guy. But I felt really scarred by, there's a specific sex scene that happens in this movie that just completely burned into it's the phone booth kind of like.
Look, we're going to do a half an hour.
Okay, good.
All the John
I don't have to go into it, but okay.
Yeah.
Well, just rewatching it this time, I almost had to look away. I was still feeling those 11-year, or I don't know. I was younger than 11, but just like a child kind of like fear of adult doing sexual things.
Gnarliness. Really... Well, can I piggyback on that? It's just to put a button on this. It's like we were talking about the crazy, lurid, like carnival of insanity in the first 5 minutes. And it was wild for me as a kid, but it was fun because it was obviously inherently silly. But as Marcus is saying, the film goes on, and I'm still like 11 years old. Yeah. And like the really gnarly stuff that happens later with Lithgow as the killer, like that was very unpleasant, and that was easily like truly unsettling compared to the silliness of the opening. The high camp. And it was one of those things where it's like, how did my parents not pay attention that I'm watching this? How did they sell me a ticket? Who sold me a ticket? Like I'm like a little guy,
hey,
like,
kid.
Yeah, hi, let's go see a movie. It's like, how did this work back then? I should not have been seeing that film in a movie theater.
Yeah,
like
amazing.
2 in the afternoon.
I don't know if the humor of the beginning was kind of lost on me as a kid too. It just seems like a scary movie.
Yeah, totally.
I do love that it ends with a joke that lands that even a kid can get, though. It does with that scream that the girl gives, where she's like,
God, the scream is terrible.
no, like that
Right.
kind of
Oh, yeah,
The end of
embarrassing
the opening
scream.
scene, yeah.
Yeah, the end of
Yes.
the opening scene. Yeah.
The end of the
Yeah,
opening scene, right?
yeah.
It ends with a joke that even a kid can grasp. So.
Yeah.
It's almost like
totally.
out of like Singing in the Rain or something.
yeah,
It is.
right.
It's like, when
Yeah.
the silent movie star's
Right.
voice is terrible.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I'm just saying
right.
it has
Right.
classic comedy elements to
Right.
it.
Right. And yeah, and it's cool. It's like De Palma has said too, like in putting like movies together, he's always cognizant of this idea of like, okay, the opening of a movie is such a crucial moment that you have to grab somebody and to utilize it. It's very valuable real estate that you can do something very creative and very interesting. And he's always cognizant of that, where it's not just like an establishing shot of a city or a helicopter shot or something that is very generic. Like he wanted to craft something, and a lot of his movies do kind of have those like wicked openings. And
I'm thinking now like Dressed to Kill is pretty striking, for instance.
yeah, absolutely. But this one's up there at the top for sure. And so, but the before we get into the movie, it's just to kind of touch on Brian De Palma, because it's our first time sort of talking about him. It's like he is such
Brian.
Welcome, Brian. Hi, Brian. But he's such an interesting filmmaker. I mean, I do really enjoy his work because it's very watchable to me and very fun in terms of like this hybrid of like high camp for the most part. Like obviously like Scarface and oh fuck, I'm gonna make you guys definitely do 1 fucking hour on Raising Cain somewhere down the line. I know that. But just he gets pretty demented and weird, and it can be very fun. And he's got an interesting career in a lot of different movies. He definitely has some stinkers too, but he is interesting in that like he mixes this sort of high camp. Kind of recycling a lot of like familiar tropes, and he really loves the masters, the Orson Welles and the Hitchcock, and
the obvious
primarily
nods to Hitchcock.
Right. But sometimes it works, sometimes it hits, and sometimes it doesn't. He does make some pretty interesting cinematic choices, and he can make a movie just very fun in that way. Where it feels kind of low stakes to like sit back and watch one of his movies. Versus
cheap
like
thrills.
Cheap thrills, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
He came up in that era, with alongside the big boys, Coppola, Spielberg, whatever, on all the specifically the guys, the Corman kind of Scorsese, this Corman kind of crew,
Yeah.
But he doesn't. His films are super watchable, like you said. They're fun. They break through. A lot of them have this commercial success. Something about them feels like a little lightweight to me. Like they don't have the depth that, like
Compared to like the
Now
Godfather 2 or something.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
Yeah.
that is a block for people, maybe, or at least for me, But I do love his movies too, but they just don't seem to have the same weight, So I judge them on a curve, I guess. They
Me
feel
too.
more like.
I hear you.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what they feel like? They feel like kind of the top of the line of a movie that comes in a snapping DVD case. Like he's very much kind of the ilk. Like I sort of watch his movies like I would like an erotic thriller, from the 80s or
Right.
90s. Hell, he's made a lot of them.
Which
but it's
Body
that kind
Double
of
essentially
Body double,
is.
yeah.
Exactly.
That is
It's
just
like-
like fun trash.
trash.
Right.
He is kind of like a trash filmmaker in a lot of
But
ways.
If I can,
Sure.
I totally hear your point, but that's never been the thing that stopped me from appreciating him. I totally hear what both of you guys are saying, and I'm in accord with you. Like, I've always felt like, what does this guy have to offer? I mean, a movie like Taxi Driver can happen, and why can't you go there? Are you not interested? Do you not have the interest to go that deep as a person, as an artist, and
Right.
Godfather 2 and everything? But so there's that. And what I'm saying, I forgive him for that, and then I forgive him for like just saying, "Oh, I'm going to make trashy movies and have some fun." Movies can be fun. Pauline
Yeah,
Kael
he
really
has a lot of
responded to
fun.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Pauline Kael really is like that's like her favorite guy from this period, and because he was so fun, because she used to extol the virtues of like let's calm down. Movies, they're like fun. They're pop. They're an art form, but they're a pop art form. So there's
Yeah.
that. So I agree with that.
Yeah.
But my problem has always been with him. I'm not looking for trouble with him, but it was strictly the pacing. I really narrowed this down. Like I'm alienated often from his pacing because it seems lugubrious and so self-aware and self-satisfactory. And I'm just looking at my watch and going like, Yes, very good, Brian. That's a very good shot. Congratulations. Like, you're a good boy. Like, have a cookie. You know, and it's just like, all right, can I get engaged here? Like, or are you going to get masturbatory about like my set piece, you know? But I don't even care that much. But what I'm saying is
I know what you
let's
mean.
get back to this movie. Blowout is awesome because I don't see any pacing problems that I usually find with him.
Right.
I think he's got a rip-cracking, very simple narrative that has like the pacing of a thriller. Like, it's him doing a thriller. Like, Dress to Kill's not a thriller, you know, but like this is a thriller where it's like, is the girl going to make it? Is he going to get there in time? You know,
Right.
And I think that helps him to kind of keep shit moving.
Right. And if I can, I mean, that's probably because, segue, this is a tried and true format. You know, I mean, this is not the first movie of its ilk. Let's talk about this.
Yep.
Because, you know, there is 2 other films that predate this one that are very similar. First, you have, of course, Blow Up, which is the Antonioni film where, you know, where the plot is to blow up a photograph to see what's the mystery that's hidden within that.
Looks like there was a killer. Was there a killing in the field in that photo I took, you know? Yeah.
Right. And then in The Conversation, which we talked about Coppola earlier, there's the plot device there is trying to weed through all the ambient noise and other sounds to figure out what this mysterious conversation is between 2 different people. You know, so but there's something very tried and true in that format, in this idea. It's very cinematic. That idea of deconstructing something, and there's something more within it. It leads us to a mystery. And of course, De Palma's take and turn on this is the idea of, which is pretty cool actually, this idea of what is there when you actually sync sound with picture, you know, more or less. This idea that you've recorded something and you might have recorded, like, it's essentially about you hear it as one sound a few times, but it's actually 2, you know, the boom, boom, you know, of a gunshot and a blowout. That's what it is about. And so it's very cinematic. And of course, we'll get into this. The idea of the deconstruction, especially at that time, things are very different now, but going into what you had to do in order to make movies. You had to, you know, you had to take sound design, record that, you know, and then take picture, marry the 2 in very laborious
synchronization, cutting
nightmare.
Tape, cutting film,
splicing, marking, syncing.
Tape,
so
like tape was involved. Yeah, I know. Like razor blades, and you do see that. And actually, that's the other thing is, again, when I was a kid, I really responded. I was surprised that I really mainly responded to the huge set piece in the middle of the film that we're alluding to right now, which is so masterful. So, you know, total kudos to him there. And can I just say, it's not lugubriously paced. It's very snappy, wherein he's getting these photographs from the magazine of the, you know, assassination with the car getting shot. And, you know, he's making a little flip book, and you're watching this all play out. And I feel it's 100% engaging. He's cutting them out. He does the flip book thing to test it, and then he finds the exact moment of the impact on the tape as he's running it through the bed.
A sync point. He's finding the sync point.
The great rewind, the great rewind sound effects.
Hitting the X on with the grease paint. So really well shot, totally engaging, and part of the suspense of it all. Like it's and in that way you're saying it's like it's a classic thriller mystery detective story. It's like it's a detective story where the moves and the what am I trying to say? The clues, the hints are in filmmaking itself, and he does such a great job with that, and it's so fun. And that's actually my favorite part of the movie. I remember I was responding to that as a child. I was like, it was so magical, you know, the magic of filmmaking.
I love all the tech. It's like tech porn, watching all the clicks and clacks of all the machinery and stuff. I mean, that is the part that borrows the most from, I mean, just aside from the theme, like that's the part that borrows the most from Blow Up, because that also happens in Blow Up when they're blowing up the film, and you get really engrossed in that, and that just becomes the movie for a while. You watching him blow it up and get closer and closer and zooming in. It gets kind of quiet, and it's really engrossing. It's so interesting, like that Antonioni like seemed to have a huge impact on this generation of these new Hollywood guys. You know, and like Coppola talks about him and this, and then you know the people that did. There's a couple films that do like riffs on Blow Up. You know, I mentioned last week that Deep Red's like you know, kind of like another Blow Up like story, and it's so interesting that the guys like watch this European art house movie that is kind of, in a way, it's kind of obtuse, you know, like in Blow Up, there's a crime, then he blows up the picture, there's a murder, there's a body, but it never gets solved, you know, and that's just part of the film, you know.
No, it ends with a bunch of fucking clowns like miming tennis. Yeah, I'm kidding, but you know what I'm saying. But it's true. Like the film ends very ambiguously. Like hey, I found your ball and I'm going to throw it to you. You mimes. Like, that's the ending of the movie. No, I know.
Yeah.
It's
I love that
high European art.
Yeah, I love that. And it's great, that sort of ambiguous ending. I think it's really interesting. These guys were inspired by that European kind of approach, but then they also were so tempted to solve the crime, you know? So in Deep Red, he's like, what if a blow up crime was actually solved? And the same thing here for blow out is like, what if the crime was actually solved? So I think that's kind of an interesting aspect for both the instinct there.
Totally.
For these American guys. Well, I guess Argento's Italian.
And obviously, just to go back to that scene of the process, you know, you're talking about when he's syncing up, finding the sync point, editing the photo, taking the photo stats, and editing that to sound and picture. It's amazing, and it reminds me of, kind of shout out to Friedkin too. He would have scenes like that a lot in his movies. I think of like To Live and Die in L.A., the scene where how to make the counterfeit money, and it's all this very sexy montage showing you.
I have
the
one
real,
for you. French Connection, making the dope.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Incredible. Yeah.
Good point.
So that I do love. It's amazing when you get to deconstruct a process like that and you get to see it. But also we know that when he's making the flip book and he's looking through that magazine, that's clearly a reference to the Zapruder film. Concept of responding to the JFK assassination and kind of making his own version of that with that Life magazine article. And that I do know was a big, one of the main inspiration moments for this story. It was sort of combining, this with Blow Up, or the JFK assassination idea, conspiracy with Blow Up, and also with a real life story, when Brian was working on Dress to Kill. They were in the mixing booth, mixing the film, and it was literally him turning to his sound guy and saying, dude, we've used that same fucking wind effect. And how many pictures have we used that same wind effect? Don't real? You got anything new? Yeah. And so
some new sound over here.
Yeah, right. So
wind.
that was literally a conversation they had.
No
and
kidding.
So he told them, go out there and fucking record some new wind, you motherfucker. And so he did, and he went out in his backyard and did that. And so it's kind of combining all of those aspects, and I know he's a big JFK nut too, for sure. So
can I just relate to that, and maybe we can sew up this little section where it's like, it's one of the last 70s films. We're dealing like the way Altered States was, and what I mean by that is this is still in the shadow of like All the President's Men. And of course, Watergate, and it's very cynical, and it's like, because that's what the JFK assassination wrought, not just the event happening of the president dying on television, basically, but just like who really did it, and like why is this group of people killed, and why was the killer killed on television, and so all this deep suspicion of cover-ups and conspiracies. And this film is very much in that, but also it has this really sour take on America because of the obvious considered placement of it being Philadelphia and some weird like Liberty Day parade, which is that even real? What the hell is that? Liberty Day parade. I think he made it up. But what I'm saying is like there's a shot in the film that's like ready for like, being clipped in a book about like cynical 70s of his Jeep crashing into the parade with like American flags everywhere. It's very bicentennial, but it's like a disaster. And of course, what's the name of the killer? The Liberty Bell Strangler, and so there's this weird ultra sour take on like American iconography.
Right. She's getting killed in front of a giant flag behind her,
with fireworks.
Patent speech.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
Fireworks.
Yeah. So he's doing it's like one last salvo of like mad, sour, like baby boomer post Watergate 70s.
And he has that energy. I mean, he does have that or roots in that. I mean, if you go back and watch his 60s films, they're less Hitchcock and they're more Godard. They're more like angry, anti-capitalist sort of, anti-racist films that are very angry and have a lot of angst. And so he does have that side to him for sure.
About the
you know?
like generally speaking, like the very shared belief of like the hypocrisy of
Yes.
America's smiley face, you know.
Right.
And
Right.
no, and it's a real like fuck you to like the bicentennial. That's a weird subtext in Blowout to look into. Liberty, the
weird.
Liberty Day parade.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it is.
That is one of the things I really respond to in this movie. It does feel like the ultimate 70s movie in a way. Like it feels like, build up to this, you know, like the grain, the film, just the look of it. But then also just the way it's shot, it feels like the 80s have really happened too.
Oh,
and
yeah.
De Palma's style that really it was borrowed a lot by other filmmakers in the 80s. That red, specifically like the
red.
lighting where that's kind of red and blue.
Yeah.
You know, which
blue.
was just aped in so many films afterwards. You know, neon noir 80s movies, and then just cheap, you know, SOVs that light that way, you know.
Right. But it's still got a taxi driver grit.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Right.
And the lighting too doesn't feel, it's still motivated by whatever's going on in the scene, you know, like there's like a neon light or it's a dark room or whatever. It's got some sort of, it's not just, there's not just
Style.
a house that happens to have like a red gel in it, you know, it's
Yeah.
it's motivated by something.
Hyper-stylized, yeah.
So it feels really, it feels
It's a
great,
cusp movie. Back to more
Definitely.
cusps,
It is.
guys.
Yeah.
Cusp.
Cusp. Cusp.
Yeah. It is. It is. It is. It is, and it is cool because it does forecast a lot of what would be more ubiquitous in the 80s, like as you said, with like those neon noirs, the sort of snapper movies, if you will, that would sort of follow it. But yeah, I mean, it really does tastefully balance that, because really, I feel like a lot of filmmakers at this time are really going back into the 50s noir thing, like, you know, Hard and the Hitchcock thing, and you know, he was obviously right at the forefront of that. One quick thing, just to put a bow on the sound mixing, you know, origin stories of this movie, is that scene in the beginning when we first are introduced to John Travolta, and, you know, of course, which we should talk about, but when we're sort of introduced and they're mixing the horror film, you know, after the gag with the bad scream and everything, it is very reminiscent of another movie we've covered on the show before, and I kept thinking about Modern Romance, another movie that came out just a year prior.
Same year.
Right. Yeah.
Or same
Sound
year, a
effects.
year prior, or whatever. And they're
same
talking, and they're talking about the deconstruction of sound and Hulk running and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah. It should be Hulk screaming.
Oh yeah, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Hulk running.
Yeah.
It's
and
always fun when
cool.
movies get into the movies, you know, when movies get in, although.
Yeah. No, that's a good call. That's
I know,
the
and
weirdest
it's-
double feature ever.
It is.
You could justify
You
it.
could do it. You could, but it is cool because you see them like, you know, like taking the knobs down and turning the levels down, and hearing the separation of everything, of how it's being made, and that's just a really cool like it's like, you know, it was a movie about movies, but we're reminding you this is a movie, and it's just a cool. It's a cool. It all works, you know.
Totally. Can I actually mention one last? If we're talking about like the filmmaking aspect of the film and the set piece. Really, one of my favorites is the he's realizing that all of his tapes have been erased, and it's this
epic.
incredible, persistent 360 shot, and the sonics of the slight sound made of all the sound of erasure. Guys,
the
right?
white noise.
It's
The
building.
white noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's obviously probably one of the most famous like shots in his film or in his career. I think it's actually. It works on so many different levels. The idea of the camera revolving like a tape would, you know, hearing the white noise layering upon itself is, you know, really amazing. And it adds to the panic and the paranoia, like, you know, thematic wise. It all works, and it's great too because it's like, you know, to pull off a shot like that. I mean, you really have to like build a set. And you have to somehow not be in view, you know? So I think they did shoot that where they built the set and they were all like hanging out above the set, you know, like looking down on it as it was, you know, I don't know. It must've been on some motor or something. I don't even know how they would operate.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd love to see a publicity still or, you know, a production still of that, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
lava scene and one of the big set pieces. Agreed.
Yeah.
Right. It's hard to overstate just how much just those little details of the technology that they use in the film that kind of delights you as an audience member, like hitting into his little voltage meter and the graphics at the beginning, like,
opening credits.
the mod and the right. You see his like recording devices, Nagra, like a lot in it, or like
Yeah.
There's the sync dots that pop up on the screen when the girls are like recording the lines,
Right?
And you see the sync dots flash up on the screen.
That's fun. That's fun. Yeah, and that opening title scene or opening credits is really fun too, because you see another, you see like another De Palma trope, which is the idea of the split screen. You're seeing that, which you see in a lot. He loves to juxtapose images and sort of have that as like his signature split screen thing, which he's pretty chill with that in this movie as opposed to other movies.
Yeah, it happens infrequently. I actually always welcome his split screens.
Me too. It's cool.
It seems very playful, and it's actually more his thing. Like I can't think of who he's aping. I don't think any classic filmmaker was into split screen like that. I can't think of any offhand.
Yeah.
In a way, it's almost more closer to an avant-garde filmmaker technique.
Like the Boston Strangler? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, right. It happens once in a while.
So cool.
But it's not the signature of like Hitchcock or something,
Right.
There's
but
the
he does
split
it well.
screen, but then there's also like the split diopter stuff where they're shooting.
Yep.
It's like live and they're shooting like they just
Yeah.
have John Lithgow's face really close to the camera
Yeah.
and it's in focus. Then there's two people off talking,
Or
and
the
they're in
picture of her.
focus too.
Like with
So
like
cool.
the
It's
picture
like-
of her. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a special technique too. They have this glass that like allows you to kind of to keep them both in focus in
It's
like a
slightly
low
weird
light
looking 'cause
situation.
there's a band of out of focusness between them.
Yeah,
and
but
you have
they
to-
try to
Weird
hide it,
look.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like they get just to the edge. Like we can't not have there the little sliver of out of focus. Yeah, I love
It
it.
is cool because it's kind of like live multi-screen or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
live split
Very
screen.
I think that's
Great
like
look.
a
Great old
page of
school
his like Citizen Kane, background, because he doesn't he actually doesn't like depth of field, focus. Like he doesn't like pulling focus or racking focus or having something out of focus, in the background. He likes it all in focus. And so
Right.
that's a
And you're
big part
saying
of
Citizen
why he
Kane's
does it.
famous because they had this deep focus lens that allowed everything to be in focus, right?
Yeah.
It was like really bright, and so
Yeah,
that
very
makes
cutting
sense.
edge at the time. So yeah, let's just get into this. So John Travolta, we sort of meet. I love the idea of a B movie sound guy as your main character.
As your
so
hero.
fun as a hero, so fun. And of course, we get to see. This is before Videodrome. You get to see a great setting, like a shitty B movie horror movie office.
Right.
Which is and I used to work in one of those, and I know what they look like, and they kind of look like
Yeah,
that.
you do. It's always manned by like a portly,
Yes.
cigar chomping guy
Yep.
about to have a coronary, yelling at everybody.
Posters on the walls.
That's
yeah.
true to life,
Squirm.
isn't it?
It is. Lots of posters on the walls. Yeah, Marcus, 100%. Gotta love the real movies, and I think maybe the fake movies that are there. You got a mixture of Squirm, iconic,
Yeah.
amazing poster.
Dude, I think they're all real.
Are they
When I
all
was a
real?
kid, when I was a kid, I was like, "What the hell?" But like, there is a porno called like "Lure of the Triangle."
Yeah, I was
It's
wondering
like
about
based on,
Lure
like,
of the
Bermuda
Triangle.
Those are all real movies. Unless, no, I mean, I'm IDing all of them. They're all old
Yeah.
weird movies. Yeah,
It's
What was
amazing.
The Boogeyman.
Yeah. You got Boogeyman. You got Without Warning. Lure of the Triangle. LOL. Amazing. But I love that setting. It's such a fun setting with the moviolas in
So
the
good.
background and all that shit. It's so great.
The animation room, where it's like a
Yes.
clubhouse of the weird animator freak guys, and they have like a
Yes.
skeleton with like Mickey Mouse head and
Love
stuff.
it.
Like,
Love it.
it's like it's that kind of freak scene too, like the tech guys. That reminds me of like the guy wearing the multicolored afro, like the radio tech in talk radio.
Right.
Yep. We love
Like kind
it.
of like rock and roll boomer all nighter kind of like tech pro guys. Like it has
Yes.
that. And we don't really meet them, but it's implied
Yeah.
that it's like movie
lone gunman.
cowboys.
Yeah, totally.
that?
I was just thinking like the lone gunman, from the X-Files. I don't know.
Yes.
But yeah, so then another thing that I admire with this movie very much, and we talked about this and one of the other episodes we did recently, I can't remember which, but the idea of like the filmmaker throwing you right into the movie right away. Like as soon as the opening credits are fucking done, we're basically here he is. He's out there filming new wind sound effects, practically out in the woods. And here's this very cinematic scene and it's great because it works on so many levels with this movie in particular because it's drawing your attention to sound. You hear the owl, you hear the frog, and then of course we find out it comes full circle as we hear the garrote watch that John Lithgow plays with later on in the.
Where do you get one of those, by the way?
I know that'd be a killer merch item. Yeah,
my birthday's coming up.
Yeah.
It's a key. It's just a key ring holder,
Yeah.
I think. Right?
Is it?
I don't know.
I don't know. On your watch?
No, it's not.
Go ahead.
But like that sound you're introduced to in that moment, right? When he's doing the field recordings, and then later on when John Lithgow is like, at whatever fucking Penn Station or whatever it's called, and he's like, he plays with it like, oh, that was the sound. So he was in the bushes and stuff like that. Very cool. So the sound.
I love the
plays a
scene where
key point.
Travolta's sitting and like recapping all that too, like the next day, and he's got the pencil like he's conducting, and
that's
it's
so good.
It's
and
like
you're
cue the owl, cue the frog.
Right, you're seeing what the sound is making him reminding him of, and the pencil is in place of the directional mic.
And his performance there.
I love that.
One thing De Palma was pointing out was that Travolta, he's obviously a very good dancer. He can move, so his movements are really graceful. So when you photograph him, like everything he's doing, like looks very good. So even just him like twirling that pencil has this like graceful, curves to it.
Lilt. Yeah.
It kind of harkens back to an era where actors had. We've talked about the triple threats before, actors that could sing, dance, and act.
And they have
Travolta.
Total package. But the thing is, with those two scenes, with him recording the field recordings and then having the sort of memory recall when he's playing it back, it's very cool in the choice of how he decided to film that, because the first time around you are basically focused on Travolta as he's moving the microphone. You're sort of, we're pretty much on him. We see those really cool kind of like reverse Hitchcock, like where the shots get wider, when they kind of pull out with these kind of cuts, these like punk rock cuts, it's pretty cool. Punk rock punch outs. And then when he's recalling it, then we're now seeing all the information a second time, but we're seeing it from his point of view. So we're seeing the things that he saw. We're seeing, the close-up of the tire, and we're seeing the close-up of the owl and the close-up of the frog, and the things we saw from his perspective. So it's cool that he approaches those two different moments in the film from two different stylistic ways.
That is awesome. And it's good. It's executed well. It respects the audience, It's not like he doesn't have a line where he's like, "That's that owl I heard." I wonder what that garrote sound is. He's not narrating. It's respectful of the audience and lets you make the connections. And
show don't tell. Yeah,
very fun. Very, 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 very fun.
Is there a chance, as the clock is brutally ticking here?
Sure.
We did reference Lithgow a few times now.
Yeah.
Can we just 100% on Lithgow, because he steals the movie for me?
Sure.
Or also just his scenes that De Palma's filming. He's terrifying. And I'll just put it this way. I saw him first in this film, and then I'd see Lithgow for 10 years later, and I was not laughing if he's making a joke, or he wasn't heartwarming, or he wasn't kind. He was that awful, psychotic nightmare person with that fucking little white guy face, and just here's my favorite Lithgow moment, and leave it up to you guys. Is he's on the phone. He's the fake, telephone repairman. He's on the phone. He's calling the police, and he's got a dead face, total sociopathic face. But he's going, "She made me do it. They all make me do it."
But don't listen to her. She made me do it.
Okay, just tell me where you are. Where?
He's just saying the kind of thing that the psycho would say, who's killed
without
a bunch of
emoting.
prostitutes.
Yeah, visually.
Right, exactly. So he's like, "No, you're gonna tell on me because I tell on them," And he's got this crazy sort of cry voice going, but he's got this completely
deadpan,
incongruous, unconnected, dead sociopath face. And then they're going "Sir, where are you? Do you want to maybe some help?" And he's and he just calmly hangs up. And that voice is gone. He never had the face that the voice was implying.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Shit.
Anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we should talk about just like his character. I mean, the idea of his character is insane, and as we learn as the movie unfolds, the idea that, he's kind of going rogue with whatever the conspiracy plan is. Like, he's just going to fucking, kill this presidential candidate. Why the fuck not? And then he's going to now, kill other women that look like Nancy Allen, just so it looks like it's part of some serial
looks
killer.
like that the city is being strucken by the Liberty Bell Strangler.
Yeah, so that's freaky.
Like the Zodiac Killer or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, but
yeah.
come on, that performance,
It's insane. Yeah.
it chills me to the
It's-
bone. That's the
yeah.
best sociopath rendering I've ever seen.
It's pretty
Oh,
good.
it's
That's
Yeah.
not the only scene. There's the other scene in the train depot. That we were
There's
talking
also
about
the
earlier.
scene in the mall where he's following the woman from the mall that he thinks is Nancy Allen, and then we go into this fucking like construction site dirt mound, and he's picked up the
awful.
ice pick, and he's
scary.
stabbing her with the ice pick. Well,
No,
that
he looks
seems-
over
Yeah.
and sees the advert for the Liberty Bell, and he's
That's
like,
right.
the clocks
Bingo.
or the gears are winding in his head, and he just starts, of course,
That's
mutilating her with the shape of
demented.
the Liberty Bell in her stomach. I mean, that is really awful. Like
Really
today,
demented.
2023,
Yeah.
like, that is heavy bad news, and it's really sold by Lithgow's face, by his performance, in my
Yeah.
opinion. You know what I mean? It
Totally.
just shows you the power of a strong performance as a killer instead of just some stupid horror movie performance.
He's
Yeah.
got such a psychotic career too, because it's like he's either playing a psycho killer guy really effectively, or like a comedic goofball dad.
Yeah.
The first movie I ever saw him in was Harry and Henderson's. So
Yeah.
this like goofy dad quality, and then seeing him as like playing like cold-blooded killers and stuff, and then come back to play like Third Rock from the Sun or something.
Right.
It's so like
I know.
it's
Well,
that weird.
I'm very excited for you guys to see Raising Cain with me, because that's like Lithgow
Okay.
times 25, because he plays like three
Sign
different.
me up.
He plays different schizophrenic people and different personalities, and it's
Right,
it's-
I've caught some of that.
it's-
yeah.
it's
He's
Lithgow
also good in
overload.
Ricochet.
we got to
Side
do
note?
that. We're gonna do that.
Yeah, Ricochet is a lot of fun.
We're
Totally.
gonna do.
I'm
Okay,
embarrassed
anyway,
to
so
say
yeah,
he's
let's
also
go
in
scenes.
I'm embarrassed to say he's also psycho in Dexter. So,
Yeah, you love Dexter.
Okay, we'll move on.
Um,
So I also
phone
wanted to
booth
say,
scene,
so
though.
there's Lithgow the performance, but then also again how De Palma handles those scenes. And Marcus mentioned this earlier, the really grim murder of the prostitute in the bathroom stall of the train station.
It's like
I
Maniac.
could barely handle that, and her encounter with that sailor in the phone booth. Holy shit!
it's so violent and
Yeah, it's
it's
ugly.
it's really ugly and vile. Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. And it is like his performance in that moment where she's in the one phone booth and then he's in the other one, and he puts up the 20 on the glass.
And he goes like, "Duck, duck."
yeah, I know.
It's like, what a nightmare.
It is.
And
so
she's
bad.
perfect. Whoever that actress is, she's like
Perfect.
gives a big fake smile, and then she turns her head, and it's just nothing, blank expression, kind of like him.
Yeah.
And they're both like just
ugh.
dead inside. It's a nightmare. It's
That
like
booth
the worst.
rocking back
hell.
and forth. Oh God, for like forever too. It's like
Yeah.
it's so wrong. As a kid, being like, is that what sex is supposed to be?
No.
It's like
I
so
know.
weird. Ugh.
Oh, what do you mean with the sailor too? Like,
The sailor,
The
yeah.
sailor, yeah.
Ugh.
And it's so ugly. He's like, that was worth $10, baby doll, or whatever.
Right.
It's just. I mean, it
Horrible.
works, and I think it's just about as sleazy as Hollywood gets. In a
Yeah,
way.
her brushing her
That whole-
teeth like in the bath,
Yeah.
in the bathroom, and like that, just
I
like
know.
whole inner working of that. And then,
after performing oral sex on that stupid sailor. I know. It's really great. It's in a bathroom, like at a fucking train station. You know, like think about that. Let
It
that,
is lurid.
Let that settle.
It's
It's really sick and lurid.
It's-
Yeah.
it
Anyway, I
is
just want to give a shout out to that. That's about as
Yeah.
Gnarlsberger
Oh.
as it gets.
shit, I'm just looking at my notes. If we can move on, just clock
Yeah,
notes.
rock and roll.
One other really fucking great scene in this movie is when he finally is able to get Nancy Allen, who, like I said, was De Palma's wife at the time. She gives a great performance in this movie. Again, Travolta reuniting with her, as in, they were together in Carrie, so that's cool.
Right.
They get to work together again. And but there's a great sequence where they kind of go out for the first time and they're getting to know each other at this bar in Philly. It's really cool. Just another great little cinematic, gritty, location and set piece. And he basically talks about his origin story and how he broke into the movies. And this is a great little fucking 70s movie within a movie, another movie within a movie.
I know, it's like the best Goodfellas scene that didn't happen suddenly magically appears in 1981 in Blowout.
You know what I think of is I actually think of Prince of the City is what I think about when I see this, because it is obviously like, police corruption, type investigating, which is big around that time. And so he basically wires up a guy who's going to go in there and he's going to, rat on his partners. And as he's doing it, he's getting nervous and he's sweating and it's causing the mic to short out and burn through his skin.
It's like, hey, pull over, I got to take a piss. And he's like dying. Because there's like a square shape of battery acid that's melting into his flesh, and he's like barely able to form a sentence. He's racing to the bathroom to tear this thing off his body. It is so. See, there you go. There's an urgency to this, even this small scene, and it makes De Palma just really kick in and show some really good chops with his pacing. And it's so grim, and you're kind of rooting for the guy. And you're also identifying with Travolta because by proxy, he's killing this guy because he made the error of not anticipating the sweat, as he said. And that, of course, is, the origin story for his
miking
problems.
her.
Like he's...
sorry? Miking her. And later in the movie when he's miking her, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's
but
also
also
his motivation for wanting to solve the crime.
Yeah, to correct the error.
Right.
And he can't let the Nancy Allen character slip out of his fingers.
Right. And also teeing up the tragedy for the end, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
But and it ends in the bathroom again. How about them apples?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. And so, the guy's hanging from his own wire.
From the cord.
From the cord.
Which is part of the goofy humor.
It is.
That I guess I like about De Palma, and
mobsters, by the way. They have a sick.
Well, mobsters would do that.
Here's your fucking wire right here, asshole.
Yeah, I got your wire right here, pal. Working great. Hello.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Well, that would have been like a Tarantino thing. Actually, Tarantino would do that and have no restraint.
Yeah. New Jersey, you ready for the greatest band in the world, Kiss?
Yeah, exactly.
All
rock and let's talk in this radio.
Yeah, right. But it is good because it does add a nice tension to the movie because it also creates, which is cool, and this is where the cynical side is coming out too, because there is a detective in this movie who doesn't give a shit about John Travolta's quest and his evidence that he's bringing to light. And that's De Palma's given. I think that detective character is almost maybe De Palma's voice a little bit, where he's basically saying, so who cares? Yeah, all this stuff you got here, someone shot his tire, he's dead. Who gives a shit, And it is kind of like that cynicism around even the JFK assassination.
It's pitch black cynicism. It's like, in the end of the day, none of this fucking matters. So just keep your head down and get back to work. Yeah. Can I just do a tiny little thing? I just thought of just today. As far as origin story for the Travolta character, he is that kid in Dress to Kill, grown up.
Isn't
that nuts? I mean, not literally, of course, but the guy was Keith Gordon. I love that character in
Me too.
In it, and he's into trinkets and gadgets and everything like that.
Yeah.
And he does surveillance too of the Michael Caine character, and so I don't know what that's probably the soul of De Palma is this nerdy little boy who has tape recorders of his neighbors, So
I guess it's Watergate seeping into the brain too, maybe.
Yeah, no, but it's there's something about
I know
the
what you
adolescence
mean.
of the director. There's something
because he talks about or Travolta in that same moment when he's conversing with Nancy Allen about his origin story. He says, "Yeah, that was me. I was a kid, tinkering with radios and doing this and doing that." And then she's like, so that is again Keith Gordon, but it could be, De Palma
in
too.
Just to Kill.
I love
Yeah.
that. Because that
Well,
makes
they're all
him sort
Travolta.
of-
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Does
they're
that
all
also-
De Palma.
Yeah, because that makes him sort of like a aficionado with tech and putting it all together.
Yeah.
And
And when he was a
yeah.
young director, he shot his own camera, and he used his own gear. So I think, that makes true for sure.
Yeah.
But I think, and this is just a tiny side note with all this. Like, I think Pauline Kael got a little ahead of herself on this, but like she was saying, there's an overarching theme of like how these men invest in technology to save themselves and to save, in the circumstance, the people at risk, and the technology won't save you. It's not a
Yeah.
salvation, and she was kind of reading a lot into that.
Right.
And that helped me actually to understand the ending a little bit better about how he's too reliant on tech and less on people, and how technology is a comfortable place because it is perfect and it's all like how you set it up, and you're in total control. But then people are wildly variable, and you're unpredictable, and even your hired killer can go rogue and become the Liberty Bell Strangler. So
Right.
I don't know. She was
Right.
making that observation. I thought it was kind of interesting.
He puts her life at
technology.
risk to go. He's so obsessed with
does.
solving the crime. He puts her
He does.
life at risk, even though he's fucked up
Absolutely.
once before and knows he knows
Exactly.
it. And he still does it anyway.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I liked that they didn't have a romantic relationship. I thought that was really
Sure.
Yeah.
refreshing. But I guess that's part of it too, because that allows him to put her in harm's way. That that she is just sort of like I don't think he cares about her that much. He
Well, I mean,
feels
he
guilt
saved
over
her.
death.
I mean,
No, he cares
saved
about
her.
her. He likes
I mean,
her. They
he, I
bonded.
mean, he also saves her from the car wreck in the beginning.
Well, there's
You
that,
know,
yeah.
That's
which
true.
is a big, moment.
And Dennis Franz would not have. Another little side note:
Yeah.
shouts to Dennis Franz. Everybody,
Great.
hello.
Oh yeah, yeah,
As
absolutely.
like the sleaziest man alive. Right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, mustard stains guy
Yeah.
for sure. Love it.
Yeah.
He's great in this. Two quick things I want to two little last as the clock is dying here. Things I want to get in. One is the ending, and one is a little crazy fact behind the scenes factoid. So the ending of the movie, I guess the studio hated. Not surprised. Yeah, they thought that the ending was a bad idea in terms of having her die in the end and everything.
Yeah.
And the movie did terrible. It did bomb. I guess it was a bomb, box office wise. And Brian De Palma he believed that it was in part because of the ending, but he wanted to make an ending that would stand the test of time, which I do think it does. Because it is shocking that he goes all the way with Nancy Allen dying, and then again more cynicism. What do we get out of this? Well, now she's just this fucking scream in a shitty horror film.
It's a good scream. It's a good scream.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's almost like it's like
yeah.
it's like not a Hitchcock movie, but like a Hitchcock like TV show or short story, like you were saying before, like your dad, like twist endings, Marcus, that kind of thing, where it's just
Twilight
like,
Zone. Yeah.
right, exactly.
Or like an EC
formulaic in that
comic.
sense.
EC
What's
comic
that?
ending. It's like an EC
Yeah,
comic
no,
ending.
that's exactly like the last
Yeah.
panel is like,
Yeah. Good script.
yay, like no, the
Good
corpse,
script.
the coffin's empty or whatever.
Yeah. They were really conjoined twins the whole time. Yeah, that's my
Right.
favorite. Yeah. So for me, the only part that I do chuckle at when I watch this movie, it's really my only complaint, my small complaint with the movie, but it's fine.
Okay.
Whatever. Is just that it's a good scream. It's good.
Good scream.
It's a good scream.
It's a good scream. It's a good scream.
I like his performance of it. Like I hear you. Like I got less distracted by the ending and just watched his performance when I watched it again the other day.
It's a good scream.
It's like that's a Travolta you don't see too often, and I think it's actually. I know this sounds nuts, but I think it's a Travolta that Tarantino picked up on for Pulp Fiction. Actually, I don't know if I can articulate it very well, but it's a
Or
kind of
maybe
a quiet.
more like what
Help me
Fred
out.
Durst saw for The Fanatic, maybe.
That's what I'm trying to say. The fan.
The fan or
yeah.
Fanatic.
That's
or
what
whatever
Fred
the fuck.
Durst was trying to get out of De Palma.
Right.
Last scene in Blowout.
Yeah, it's a
Travolta.
good scream. It's a good scream.
Well, I don't hear it as him being like chef's kiss, like, oh, that's a good scream, Like, I think it's more like he's on autopilot going like, yeah, good scream. But he's lost.
catatonic.
He's in, and he's
he's
lost in
shocked.
thought thinking about what
It's
the horrible thing that just
just
happened.
a little hand.
His
it's
reality has blown his mind.
It
and
has.
he thinks that the world is pitch black and there's no
Yeah.
escaping it. And technology, nothing will help you.
Right, he can't come out and tell that director like, yeah, but then I murdered the killer or whatever. He has to keep all that stuff a secret.
No,
that just
but I
happened,
think he's
right?
like existentially just gone. Like
That too.
cosmically, his mind has been blown by the darkness of the universe, encapsulated in this moment.
Because there's that great shot that evokes that too. That amazing shot where he's listening to the tape with the snow falling, and it's like this kind of crane shot coming in, and he's just listening to the tape,
nice.
and it's a perfect like side profile of him, and it's awesome. Real quick too, we'll just put a bow on it. For me, it's just like it's his performance. I wish he just made it a little more subtle than like good scream. That's the only thing, but. That's my only little nitpick. I just wish it was dialed down a little less Travolta.
Or maybe it wasn't a close up, or just something that was there was a little restraint somewhere in the choices.
Because I remember seeing it in New York, like on the big screen, and people were chuckling, at that moment.
Wow.
So,
Right.
Okay.
But that's not fair because we've had like 40 more years of Travolta, 50 years of Travolta afterwards to process that.
That's
through,
true. That's true. That's true.
Although he was kind of a goof. He was fresh off of Welcome Back, Kotter, and he's making this movie. So,
yeah, I think he had Saturday Night Fever, right? He was a big star, wasn't he? By this point,
definitely. But I mean,
hello, the biggest star in Hollywood.
Fuck yeah! It is amazing that he signed on to do this movie at this time. Doesn't make any sense.
No,
at
I
all.
agree. It was taking a chance because he could have he could have done what he wanted to. And I think it was a signifier for him to evolve as an actor and do a more mature role in a darker film.
Sure.
And I think he like relished that challenge. It was that kind of turn that like Jim Carrey would do, like a slasher film, like in the early 2000s or something.
Yeah, for sure. The number 27 or whatever.
23,
Or 23. Isn't that the BTK killer's favorite movie? I think it is. All right.
Yikes.
Real
You would
quick.
know.
I do. Raimi knows. Real quick. Amazing behind the scenes story. Insane thing I did not realize until today when I was looking into this.
Mm-hmm.
While they're finishing the movie, part of the negative of the movie was stolen during when a truck was transporting reels of the negative from New York to LA to be cut. The truck pulled in to some parking spot. The back was open. Someone broke in and just started taking random boxes thinking they were like goods, but it was actually the negative to the movie, pieces of it. And so De Palma and his editor had to go and assess what was missing, and they actually had to call everybody back up and reshoot a fucking whole set piece that was missing forever. And guess what it was? It was the fucking car chase scene, the complicated parade car chase stuff.
What we were talking about before.
With the helicopter.
Liberty Day Parade.
With the helicopter
God, of all the
stuff,
things to like have to
of
redo.
all the
thousands of
things.
extras.
Yeah.
That's such hell.
But everybody was
So,
like,
but are
oh
you
my
saying
God.
that somebody in some basement in Arkansas, like Little Rock, Arkansas, is the original footage of the original parade?
Yes.
Wow.
So he had to get everybody together, and they all rallied though, because everybody was like, okay, this is unfucking precedented. So everybody did like Travolta. Everybody flew in and did their piece.
That's cool. They could have changed the script, and I'm glad they didn't.
Exactly, they stayed true. Vilmos Zsigmond, who was the DP, shout out to him. The movie looks great.
So good.
He couldn't come back to shoot it. So they got somebody else, but pretty amazing. But dude, it's. So anyway, there you go.
My tiny shout out is love seeing the depiction of whatever Philadelphia's version of 42nd Street is.
Yeah,
the sleazy area with Dennis France and where the production company is.
The
What is
neon.
that neighborhood? Tell us.
I don't know. Put us in the comments.
42nd Street of Philadelphia in the 80s.
What is
Help
it?
us.
The pork hoagie section.
Yeah,
all right, everybody.
yeah. The poor boy section.
Poor boy hoagies. All right, everybody. That was 1 fucking hour on Blue Oot.
What a movie! I love that movie.
Yeah, it was. It is. It's a really fun revisit if you haven't watched it in a while, or if you haven't seen it at all. Get on that shit. Definitely one of my favorite De Palmas for sure. So there you have it, guys. Thanks for choosing that one. I mean, it could have swayed the other way. We could be doing a totally different episode if 3 people didn't hit that vote button. So that's how important it is to vote.
We could have been doing My Dinner with Andre right now. I'm kidding. That was not one of the choices.
Hey, you know what's crazy about that is, we were talking about working in old exploitation, film companies with wood paneled walls and film posters on the walls, like I did at Troma. Did you know that My Dinner with Andre was edited in the Trauma offices?
I did not know that.
How about that? How about that little film
Wow, it's
trivia?
amazing I said that.
Yeah, there you go.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like basically what you're seeing in Blowout, those halls, like
Yeah.
someone's like,
Cutting
I'm
on.
working on Real 7 right now, and we're going to order dessert.
Yeah.
So wish me luck. Holy shit. Wow.
Yeah.
I love that movie, all kidding aside.
No,
I'm
totally,
a big
totally.
fan of it.
Something must be in the
That's
air.
very strange.
So we got
Something-
like My Dinner with Andre in one room and like Toxic Avenger in the other.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or who knows?
Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. What else?
Yeah.
Fat Guy Goes Nutsoid was being cut next
God.
to it. All right. All right, there you go, everybody. Again, that was awesome, but good segue into next week. I wanted to mention this at the top of the show, but not to toot my own birthday horn or anything. But this week actually is my birthday that we are recording this. But since we're engaged in this program of finishing our summer series all the way to the end of September, doing the corresponding years with the episode numbers and whatnot, I'm going to.
And should we be clear with people? Like, we're wrapping this up because we're going to have a crazy horror October.
Oh yeah.
So
That's
there's
right.
only a few more 1980s years here.
2 more.
And then we're going to wrap this up.
2 more. We're going to wrap it up. So I don't want to cut into that, lose any of the momentum there, because then we're going to have October with all 4 horror movies that we'll do for One Fucking Tober, part 2, of course. So I'm going to table my birthday pick, because here on the show, and when it's your birthday week, you get to pick a movie for us to do as an episode with no notes from the
Anything.
Anything. It could be
No
anything.
notes.
No notes.
Live without a net, as Van
Live-
Halen used to say.
Right, Hagar. Yeah. So
Hagar.
I will table my pick for the first week of November. So I'm gonna, even though this week is my birthday, first week of November will be my top secret birthday pick. We'll get into that when we get there.
It's Fat Guy Goes Nutsoid, right?
Fat Goy Goes Nutsoid. The
Fat
Jewish
Goy Goes Nutsoid.
remake.
Yeah.
Remake
Very
is
rare
better.
Israeli shot remake. Trauma.
Yeah.
Fat Guy Goes Nutsoid. All right, enough.
Okay. Yes.
Understood. Yes. So you're deferring
Yes.
the Evan
Yes.
birthday pick.
I am.
which is
In
part of the tradition.
in favor
Which is the annual pick
of the
for
summer.
after this rhythm
Yes.
of the years
Yes.
per episode and polling.
Yeah.
Hardcore horror. Fucktober. What do we call it?
One fucking Tober.
Fucking Tober.
Yeah.
And then your birthday.
Then my birthday, and then God knows what, man. We got a lot of stuff planned. After
Can I
that.
say, I don't remember the last film we did before we started this journey, this nightmare of a different
Yeah.
year each week with
think it
polling.
was,
it Lucifer Rising?
It was Marcus's
was.
It
birthday.
was my birthday. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So,
So
we
there
would
you
We
go.
only do year movies and birthday
Birthdays.
movies.
And birthdays.
Yeah, exactly. So
But no, it's like I can't even remember. Like we used to pick a movie
yeah.
and then just say, let's do this movie.
Yeah.
And it could be 1966 or
Yeah.
95.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I know.
that's,
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for all that shit. But let's talk about next week, because next week is going to be episode 82, of course, a movie from 1982. So you all know how this works. To participate, we're doing polls. You guys vote on the movie for next week. So if you're watching this right now within the first 24 hours of this episode being live, you have an opportunity to head over to our Instagram page at One Fucking Hour. Click on the stories, and there you can vote for one of these 4 movies from 1982 that we'll be covering next week. A little preamble into what our approach is going into picking these 1982 films. Couple things. One is 1982 is one of the big blockbuster years of cinema. So of course we did a total on-brand One Fucking Hour thing. Let's do the opposite of that. Let's not cover all
We're
these
not going to do
movies.
E.T.,
Yeah, right.
for instance.
We're not doing ET, and we wanna, we have gone big. I think last week was kind of going big, or this week rather was going big, and I think we like the kind of we like the dynamic of going big and small and big and small. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna flip the script and we're gonna go more indie with our 1982 picks. Plus, because I don't know what the hell to add to talk about John Carpenter's The Thing. I mean, I love it. That
I know,
would be
like
one
here's
fucking
us with the
second.
thing. Like we're 40 minutes in. Like, Yes, special effects pretty crazy, and those
Yeah, I know.
dogs. Did we talk about the dogs? We
Yeah.
did talk about the dogs.
The opening is
Yeah.
great. I mean, the dog. How
No,
the
I
dog
know, I
comes
know.
in.
It's just like, all
great.
right, you know.
It's a great
know,
movie,
so-
but yeah.
Great
Like,
movie. I don't
yeah.
know what I'd say. I really don't. Not yet. Maybe down the line when we're out of movies, we'll go circle back to it. But
We're just more in the mood to like
Go
churn
small.
up some fresh dirt.
yeah, let's do that.
Sorry.
So that's our approach. So these movies are a little on the deeper cut side. But that's why we're going to help you out. So you kind of should, if you don't know any of these movies, what sounds interesting to you? What do you think would be interesting to know more about and to watch, perhaps get a pre-watch in and then follow along with us? That's the way I would approach this poll rather than like, fuck these guys. The thing isn't on it. Fuck.
Maybe, right, exactly. Maybe you've never seen it, but it sounds intriguing. Try to track it down.
Yeah.
Most things are in some form.
I think
or
all
another
these
on
are
streaming.
trackable.
Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
like that obscure. Exactly.
No.
And or you might be a fan of one or two of these or all of them.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
you don't know what's going on. There.
We don't know what the fuck's going on. So here we go. Oh, and we also decided to omit the horror movies like Poltergeist and The Thing because One Fucking Tober is right around the corner and we're going to be like growing out our neck beards. We're going to be fucking, like going Fangorian nutso over here.
Yeah.
So we figured let's just get some non-horror in before the horror comes on strong. So another approach to
Would
the
you like
list.
some horror with your horror? Sir?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
exactly.
little excessive. Yeah.
We're
not those kind of guys.
We're not. So, okay, here are the choices. Option number 1. Ooh, this would be fucking awesome if it wins. Everybody knows I'm a big Ted Kocha fan. We did 1 fucking hour on Wake and Fright earlier on in the summer program. That was our episode for 71. This is his 82 flick. He has a pretty crazy 82 because he's got a monster movie that he made, and he's got this movie which is much smaller. But it stars James Woods, and we love a good juicy James Woods performance.
If you love James Woods, you got to sign up for this one. Yeah, because he gives the performance of all the James Wood performances.
He does. Yeah. He gets real filthy in this movie. We're talking about 1 fucking hour on Split Image, which is amazing because it is based on, I think it's based on Ted Patrick, who is kind of the most famous cult deprogrammer.
I hung out with him once, by the way.
With Ted Patrick?
That's right.
Yes, I'm not even making. I went to his house.
Wow.
Yeah, that's for another. If this gets picked, maybe we'll talk about it.
Holy shit.
He's a sweet guy. Very nice.
Oh, amazing. So, yes. So, Split Image, James Woods plays a cult deprogrammer, basically going in and kidnapping lost children for their parents, trying to break
from a cult that is run by Peter Fonda. Everyone's favorite here. Easy Rider's Peter Fonda, and he does just what you would hope that he would do as a cult leader, Peter Fonda. Aging boomer in like a white robes. It's
Tinted
awesome.
sunglasses.
It's very fun. It's not the most realistic depiction of both the cult and the deprogramming, but it's a very but it's very fun and it's very dramatic and it has a lot of like cinematic flair to it in both the programming and deprogramming. And it's an unknown gem. It really deserves still to this day deserves more attention.
It's a gem. Yeah. So Split Image is option number 1. Option number 2 is a film I feel like we've talked about many times on the show or referenced its filmmaker. Tom in particular, I know you're a fan. So tell us a little bit about what 1 fucking hour on Chan is Missing would be like.
Oh, yeah. Chan is Missing. It's Wayne Wang film, 1982. Saw it in a theater as a kid. And it's basically just one of those real gems where it's black and white. Yeah. It's set in Chinatown. And it's made by a person who is an Asian American. So there's no sort of outsider, silly, grotesque depiction of the Asian life in a typical urban Chinatown, and but it has sort of a different take on things where it's about like the stereotypes have kind of been deconstructed, and there's people who are like Asian people maybe are this way or they're that way or another way or they're not like this or they're like that, and it just has a very fresh take on a world that for many people is, especially back then in 1982, completely unknown, and it has kind of a nod to noirs, but it also is sort of an art film and kind of has French New Wave influences where there's, well, like we were talking about earlier tonight, like there's sort of a thriller narrative to it, but not really. Who is Chan? Is he missing? What's going on? Who, so it's more of an art house film that uses the tropes of the mystery and really gets you in the middle of a world that is closed off for most people and probably still is kind of to today even.
Yeah.
I love Chan.
Very, very influential. Yeah, and Scorsese, big fan. Marcus?
Oh, yeah?
Was just starring Wood Moy, who was the dry cleaner in Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
Right.
She much better now.
She much better now guy.
Yeah.
But he was great in Body Snatchers, and he gives a great performance in Chan is Missing. You know what I mean? Like, the guy's real acting chops, and it's just a very small. It really is the definition of a small independent film, and it's quiet, it's low key, it's a comedy. But, and it's actually right before even something like John Lurie or something like that, later in the 80s.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Jarmusch. Yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it predates all that stuff. It's a gem.
It is. All right, that's option number 2. Option number 3 is a movie that we touched a little bit on in our shout out to our one fucking hour on The Brood, David Cronenberg's The Brood. We talked a little bit about this movie. Another heavy, not a genre film, but a heavy divorce film. And I know Raimi's a huge Raimi's a huge fan of this movie. You guys bonded over it pretty heavy. So I'm sure she would return to the channel to cover this one with us.
We'd have to have Raimi for a Shoot the Moon. I mean, that's what it is. Need that. That's everyone would insist. If
we haven't said the title
Shoot
yet.
the Moon. I think it's a dynamite film. It's Alan Parker.
Yeah.
Right.
Option number 3 is Shoot the
Wall,
Moon. One fucking hour.
Shoot the Moon. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying what I was saying the films that Alan Parker's done.
Yeah, we hadn't said the movie yet, so sorry.
I
Option
apologize.
Option number 3 is One Fucking Hour on Shoot the Moon, which it could be directed, of course, Marcus, by Alan Parker, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, who did Midnight Express, The Wall, Fame.
That's right, Fame.
Others.
Right. That's right.
But the thing is, if maybe you're a little lukewarm on some of these other films we're talking about, this film is a real surprise because Parker gets into a great, very adult, very nuanced, and very good at observing small human behavior in this divorce drama. It's total divorce core, basically.
Yeah, it is.
Like
it is.
This is the film, and there's lots of kids involved, and there's both parents are seeing other people, and the kids are having negative reactions to them, and it's often quite tragic. And but just really killer performances.
Yeah.
Of course, you got Albert Finney, Diane Keaton. They're great, but the real MVP is this actress Dana Hill. Dana Hill is no longer with us, but she gives the performance of a lifetime as the eldest of the children of divorce.
Yep.
And there's scenes where you got to like almost look away because they're so emotionally fierce, and it's really driven by her performance. It's a great film. It's quietly sad. It's again, because he also did Bugsy Malone, Alan Parker. So if you're thinking of him in this different way, you'd be surprised. And I think a lot of it's driven by the fact that it was written by Bo Goldman, who is kind of a legendary screenwriter. He did Melvin and Howard and Cuckoo's Nest. And Scent of a Woman even. But anyway, Bo Goldman was kind of this, I think he was also like a script doctor. So he's kind of a legend screenwriter in Hollywood. And this is a very autobiographical script for him. And it's very lived in. I think he lived like every scene of this film. So really special. I love Shoot the Moon.
It's really, it's a more authentic, I would say, even more authentic, grittier sort of Kramer versus Kramer, more of a chamber piece on divorce, and Albert Finney is just a powerhouse in this.
Yeah, I know.
And Diane
No,
Keaton
it makes
is
Kramer
incredible.
versus Kramer, just to be trite, it makes Kramer versus Kramer look like Disney, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It's like Goof Troop.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It's good though. It's very good. So
It's
hour,
really good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, one fucking hour on Shoot the Moon, dude, is option number 3. Option number 4. This is kind of exciting. We've been trying to sneak in comedies every now and then again. This is a movie that it is a gem. It'd be very interesting to get into for an hour. It has a very interesting backstory and its association, of course, with one of the most infamous kind of blowout-esque film companies that would be very infamous and notorious going into the 80s especially. We're talking about the movie, of course, One Fucking Hour on Last American Virgin, released by Cannon Films, the infamous Cannon Films. But Last American Virgin is very interesting for many, many, many reasons, because it is kind of in the framework of a boner comedy, if you will, of like, you know, the Porky's, Revenge of the Nerds kind of concept. But it packs a very stiff punch in the gut sort of with it that kind of comes out of nowhere. And the movie has a lot of dramatic weight to it, and it's it does have some kind of like some of the tropes of some of those other films as I was talking about, but it does have a dramatic weight that's very that definitely separates it from any of the other movies of its ilk.
No film that you're citing, no Porky's or like Stag Party movies.
Yeah.
None of them end with the gut punch of this ending. I don't want to spoil anything, but you will not see it coming. And it's also, what I didn't see coming is a great performance by the lead guy, who was the real doucher in Halloween. No, sorry, Friday the 13th 4.
Yeah.
Final chapter. He's the guy who's like, oh, he's stoned, and he's like, "You're a dead fuck, dude." And he's the guy. That guy in Friday 4 is the lead of this film, and the weight of the drama is on his shoulders, especially the last act of the film, and he does a great job. And there's a killer kind of new wave soundtrack that distinguishes it. Like it's
awesome,
savvy soundtrack
Devo,
of new wave hits.
Yeah, Devo,
Sorry?
Oingo Boingo. I think it's like that kind of vibe, right? Yeah, it's cool.
Cars.
The Cars, right? Yep, it's awesome. So we'll get into that. We'll get into Cannon Films. We'll get into the director who actually made iterations of this movie in Israel.
Right.
The Lemon Popsicle.
Right.
Films.
This is a riff off an Israeli film sort of subgenre, lemon popsicle films.
Right.
And it was transplanted to like the San Fernando Valley. So it's got kind of a weird origin story to it.
It does.
I'd love to cover it. It's
Me
definitely
too.
fresh. We don't cover enough stuff like this.
I know.
Very cool.
So those are your 4 options. One fucking hour on Split Image, Chan is Missing, Shoot the Moon, or Last American Virgin. So get on the Instagram right now at One Fucking Hour. Click on the stories. You can pick one of those and of course cast your vote. And that'll be episode 82, guys. 1982, motherfuckers.
Which will be the penultimate of this whole run for the summer.
No, because 83 will be after that.
Well, penultimate, the next to last.
Oh, yeah, penultimate. I don't know what that word means.
So keep that in mind, guys.
Lugubrious.
Yeah.
This is one of your last chances
Yes.
to flex that pole muscle.
Yeah, there it is. There
know?
it is. So, yeah, exactly. That's very disturbing. Okay, so, and real quick last shout out. If you like the show, if you like what we're doing, and you love hanging out, listening to us talk about movies, the best way to support the show, to keep this shit going, is, of course, the One Fucking Hour Patreon. So patreon.com/onefuckinghour. It's just $5 a month. You sign up, and you get access to all of our audio commentary tracks, other bonus episodes we're going to be doing. We've been talking about a lot of crazy ideas for those lately. Or you can scroll under this video, click the join button, and become a Momen. Same price, same perks, your poison, you pick it, and that's it. So patreon.com/onefuckinghour.
There's also the you get early access if
That's
you're
right. If you're a member, you get 24-hour early access to each episode. So you get to be the cool kid in school who's heard all the episodes before everybody else, and you get the audio
You
commentary.
you see that
tracks.
moment last night?
Exactly. So that's where you want to be. Shout out to everybody who signed up this far. It's been great building that community there as well. And we promise you guys, we got some fucking crazy ass plans for more bonus content, not just commentaries. We're going to do bonus episodes, bonus shows, and live streams. So if you want to be part of that party, sign up there. All right, guys, I think we out. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. Yeah, 1 fucking hour blowout, man. It was killer. We'll see you next week for 1982, man. Get your votes in. But we can't leave you, of course, without your what, Tom? Your what? Your...
Moment
of Zen.
Moment of Zenin.
Oh, there we go. All right, everybody, take care, and we'll see you again for next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
It began with a sound that no one was ever supposed to hear. Now you hear it. Now you don't.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
It's a good scream. It's a good scream.
That was wicked, man.